WBAP, and joining us right now is Byron Henry, our legal expert. We thought we'd turn to him in this battle over the future of these Confederate monuments, as it looked as if these were going to come down after a 13-1 vote of the city council yesterday. But there was a federal court complaint that was issued that argued that the city had improperly voted on the item, and guess what? That stopped the removal of the Robert E. Lee statue. Byron, let's talk about the legal aspect of this. First off, was the city out of line in this vote that took place with city council and moving as quickly as they did from a legal perspective?
Well, this municipal law is very arcane, and the process by which city councils, city managers have to follow by posting meetings and giving people notice and an opportunity to comment is very detailed. The bottom line is, like with a lot of these statutes, there's two lines of thought, but one of the lines of thought goes something like this. If you're going to remove the statues, follow the same democratic process internally at a city that you follow when you put up things, when people apply to have things put up, and you have committees hear it, and then you have a vote and whatnot. As long as you follow the proper process, there's no constitutional right to have certain statues in one park and certain statues in another. But in this case, I believe it was the city short-circuiting the process in order to avoid controversy, whether it was for a good reason or not. They short-circuit the process by which people had an opportunity to put their 2 cents in, give public comment, know about the vote coming up, and participate, and that's probably what got them into trouble. Ultimately, it probably will not stop the removal of these statues, but for the process, it just keeps the city in check and reminds other government entities that you have to follow the process before you can remove these statues and take other action.
Yeah, Mayor Mike de Blasio, Rawlings, said that this was an emergency, that they had to vote on it right away. Does that supersede the statute?
There probably could be instances where city councils can take votes, but in this case, it seems awful weak. I mean, the idea that there's an emergency that it has to be removed when a lot of people didn't see it coming, and there hadn't been like major protests, there hadn't been deaths here in Dallas, there hadn't been riots, there hadn't been marches or anything like that. There was no public safety, or at least no documented public safety concern that at least I was aware of and hadn't seen with respect to these statues here in Dallas. And I think so that was probably a afterthought with respect to trying to justify the quick vote. But I think in this case, unless there is an actual emergency with respect to people's physical safety, having free speech marches and having controversy isn't the same as safety. A lot of things are controversial. It doesn't mean that they're emergencies or they're unsafe.
Byron Henry, our legal expert.